are watching the Blueprint Radio Show with DJ Miss Hennessy.
Dobby coming hard with the blackout. Red fern all the way to Blacktown. I see you in the mob kid too. Black fellas and fellas, I'm about to rap now. Pressure be following like a black cloud. Luckily we never gonna back down. I say it all again for the back row. Luckily we never gonna back down. I can make it happen, I'm a catalyst. Manifest, manifest, manifest. Lately I've been working for the amethyst. Competition's over my happiness. Winning, 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 what a sure thing. Some days get a little bored thing. They're never thinking funny when they give me all their money. If they get to Piccadilly on the board game. Keep it on lock like a padlock B. Took away the key, put the latch on me. Breathing in deep and attach on 3. Press down and I'm back on B. How many weeks till my tracks compete? It's gonna take a while, better have your tea. It's a little unclear when I look up in the mirror, but I'm here right. Wait a minute, that's not me. Yeah, that's not me. Juggling my jealousy, that's not me. I let the pressure get to me, that's not me. Now I'm walking around the city yelling, that's not me. Am I gone by the wayside? That's not me. Will I give up in the meantime? That's not me. Will I let it all go by? That's not me. Gotta do what I've been doing now, doing what I'm doing, what I full subtle like lemon like, get the mic, bitter like lemon lime, kinda like Vegemite, hit 'em with a hook like when I'm on a mic, day and night, J-Lo, they would never get it right. Need a mediator if we gotta be together, monitor media, make it a little better. Put away the pitter patter in a minute, wake your belly up and I'ma kick a bucket, take a dip into the peanut butter. I'm popping off at the mouth, I feel like calling them out. We got 'em feeling attacked, so I'm aggro. Thinking they're good for nothing, you're pushing up on a button to make a brother react like a dad joke. If anybody complain and take a pull on my energy, getting in a debate with them, then they get a conceited look on their face and never wanted to yawn. I bet they think it's a game, I don't play with them. So you look down on me, but can you just back off please? I'ma play tic-tac-toe till I get my goal, till the crown's on me. Yo, what do you think I cost? How can I get that job? Why do you need my name? You just wanna tick that box? But you know what? I'm not a puppet, y'all. Gotta get my shit together, I know. Forget about who I am, brother. Am I gone by the wayside? Will I give up in the meantime? Will I let it all go by? Gotta do what I've been doing now.
Let me say something. For many years I ain't say nothing. They used to run the game, now the game running. I look them in their face, yeah, I stay honest. That's why I ride the beat, yeah, I'ma stay on it. We can talk about the struggle, bro, I came from it. Southwest City, put my name on it. Got love for the syndicate, we more than some immigrants. Banging on the doors till we break something. Banging on the floor, that's not me. Doing it for y'all, that's not me. Give a fuck about the wars, that's not me. Sacrifice the cause, that's not me. Dumb it down for claps in it, that's not me. Guy Sebastian, that's not me. Smile and wave at them, that's not me. Or play the game for them, that's not me. Hey.
So you look down on me, can you just back off please? I'ma just do what I do, when I get it I'ma give what the platform needs. What do you think I cost? How can I get that job? Why do you need my name? You just wanna tick that box? You know what? That's not me. I'm not a puppet, y'all. Gotta get my shit together, I know. Forgetting who I am, bro. Am I gone by the wayside? Will I give up in the meantime? Will I let it all go by? Gotta do what I've been doing, I'm doing what I'm doing, what I'm like. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get my shit together. Yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get my shit together. Yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get my shit together. Yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta get my shit together. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's not me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this extremely important, necessary, and just incredible interview that I've been very, very blessed to be able to secure with two incredible friends of mine that just represent all that is real and that is good in this crazy industry we call the hip hop industry here. I would love to introduce my dear friends, Ryan, aka Dobby, and Elfresh the Lion. Welcome to Miss Hennessy TV, my brothers.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. It's really great to be here. It's good to see you both.
Likewise. Pleasure, man. Thank you for having us.
Anytime, anytime. Now, obviously, you know, all three of us, we go a fair ways back. I've spoken to you both, you know, throughout your incredible careers, you know, touching on all of the amazing things that you've done. Tonight, obviously, bringing together for the first time for the show, and I'm not sure for the two of you, but being able to speak to you both in this space about the impact that your music has on not only our hip hop industry here, but in terms of the entire cultural canvas, you know, the social political canvas that we're sort of dealing with here in Australia, with obviously everything that we deal with in terms of, you know, Indigenous, you know, communities and, of course, you know, racial injustices that continue to plague our community and our lives and our country to this day. But also to congratulate you both on the incredible success of the joint single that you guys have just recently put out, which is gaining some incredible views and commentary out there. The single, of course, is called That's Not Me, Dobby featuring Alfresh the Lion. So congratulations to you both on that incredible single. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what it was like working together, because you're friends, but are you rap friends as well? Hip hop friends? Let's explore that. What was the collaboration like?
Are we rap friends, brother? Can we say that we're rap friends now?
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like the you know, I've wanted to work with Elle for so long, and we've known each other for years now. I was actually talking with my friends earlier about, you know, when we first met, and I believe it was at like one of the 4E Sydney's 4E Sydney Festival in Bankstown that my manager Viv runs, and you know, getting to meet you there and seeing you do what you do was just like such an inspiration. And I've always had you in my mind to work with as, you know, just one of the rappers in this country that are truth tellers and storytellers in our great narrative of what we do, you know, and who we are as people, not just artists, but people, you know, on this land. And also I just like to as well just acknowledge while I'm here that, you know, I'm broadcasting to you on Bidjigal country here down towards Randwick in you know, southern part of Sydney sort of area. But yeah, it's obviously this track is it's something I wanted to bring to you, Elle, as a collaboration that I know we both have been talking about for, you know, a while in different songs of our music, and something that resonates with a lot of First Nations peoples and POC peoples and, you know, marginalized communities, artists or not, who just have to deal with the same erasure, cultural compromise, tokenism, discrimination, you name it. And so this particular song was a way where we could sort of poke fun at it and also call people out in a way that is lit and entertaining, and with that concept, you know, that sort of has people, you know, it gets people's attention.
Definitely. I mean, it's a vibe, like, and just kind of continuing the acknowledgement as well, zooming in from Darawal country. You know, it was an absolute honor when Dobby reached out for this one. You know, like he said, we've been talking about wanting to build together for a while, and I think that's a common conversation just generally in music. You know, it's a small scene, and everybody is fans of everybody, and we want to work with each other, and sometimes time just doesn't allow for it, but timing just really worked out on this one. And you know, been a big fan of Dobby ever since Mira introduced me to his work. She was like, yo, you got to check out this cat. You got to check out this dude. Like, he's a beast, man. The way he performs, and just was bigging up Dobby. And I was like, man, if Mira's bigging you up like that, okay, that means something. So ever since I, you know, tuned in from that shout out by Mira, it's just been love. And yeah, so this song definitely you know, resonates with me. I remember Dobby playing it for me in the studio, and just talking about where it came from, and I think the obvious conversation is the lyrics. I think that's something that, you know, we're definitely going to dive into, but something that I think is super underrated with Dobby's work is the production.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, my brother.
and Dobby's a beast on the production, and it's just when a Dobby track plays it, you know it's a Dobby song because no one else can produce like that and rap over beats like that. So, you know, when he played just the whole track from top to bottom, it was a vibe and an absolute honor to be able to play a small part in this important song.
Wow, man. Wow. This
Thank you,
is
my
like
bro.
this is a flowers piece. This is how it's done in Australia.
Ah.
People, you know what I'm saying? We don't beef. We give bouquets, okay? This is what we do.
You know, that's how you know it's all love here.
Yeah.
It's family. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just listening to you both, man, like it's like a pinch me moment for me because like I said, I've known you both for quite some time, both at your, you know, the beginnings of your incredible careers, and to see the two of you rise in your own individual ways, but supporting and celebrating within that same space is something that I think is a rarity when it's done with pure intention and with absolute love. So to know and to have discovered the two of you having come together on this song. I know you said before, you know, Dobby, it was a little bit in jest, you know, kind of poking fun, but also getting that point across to people about, you know, cultural tokenism and that sort of thing. Removing all of that is clearly nothing to poke fun of. And it's something that we're still having to deal with in 2022, right? No matter age, you know, creed, culture, we're still having to deal with that. And I feel that this is just me, obviously not being an artist, but being somebody that's on the behind the scenes in hip hop, reading about it, you know, doing my own storytelling. Do you feel that it's still something that is an undercurrent within the hip hop community, both here and internationally, when it comes to the representation of other cultures within the genre? Or do you think it's just something that we tend to have to deal with here in Australia because it's still a very uncomfortable topic to deal with?
Yeah, I don't know if I um can speak too much about you know, context outside of our country, but I know that, you know, I think about what hip hop means here, you know, as it migrated its way over to so-called Australia, and how especially First Nations peoples and, you know, people like Southwest Syndicate, people like, you know, like all of them mob in the 80s who started to carve out a path and a community for us. You know, there were our own navigations, and then the things that became popular were also were very non us, like they were spaces that didn't include us. And I know Elle has a lot, you know, like we've shared a lot of stories about that type of thing as well, about, you know, what ended up becoming the mainstream hip hop scene, if you will, and how marginalized communities became, like, I don't know, like you know, and I guess again, like I can't really speak too much about the States because it's a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
And I don't really know about how, you know, mob navigate themselves there, but it's so interesting. Like the type of things that I keep seeing here is like, you can only have one black fella, you know, on the festival, and if there's two, then why, you know, like then they're paid less, or they're, you know, they have to perform the same quality show, the same, you know, big band, but for half the fee. And that's not even just hip hop as well, like that spans across our indie scene, that spans to our folk scene, you know, like I've had conversations with Emily about this, Emily Waramara, you know.
Wow.
It's a thing that keeps happening across our entire Australian music industry, about some sort of perpetuating what we seem to keep perceiving of, in particular, Aboriginal, like First Nations artists. Oh, there can never be more than one. Oh, we would never pay them the same as, you know, such and such, or this particular artist. We can't have them on the main stage. They won't attract an audience. Or if we will, we'll put them on the very first, you know, the start of the lineup, so that we say we can do it. and that's that box ticking that keeps happening, you know. Or they'll have like a separate stage and put all the box tickers there, you know. That type of thing, that spatial control, that in a sense, like their control of your financial situation as well. A spoonful of that every day would drive you insane, you know. It makes you realize and really like what's the word, like it 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 can make you gaslight yourself about the value of yourself as an artist and a storyteller and a musician, you know. I don't know, yeah, anyway, that's kind of how I feel about that. Yeah.
Wow. Elle, what about you? I mean, I know you've been touring a lot. You've obviously taken your music, internationally as well, and you're you're constantly growing and elevating yourself. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're facing, um, outside of the single obviously coming out. Just in general, how do you deal with the tokenism of what we have to deal with all the time within this community?
Yeah, I mean, I can really resonate with a lot of what Dobby was talking about there, in terms of having to experience very similar things. And I kind of want to highlight, two things really, just to add on to what Dobby was saying without repeating what he was saying. I think, when we talk about stuff like this, there's very little nuance from the outside looking in, and usually it may be, if we're talking about broader industry, trying to understand what it is that we're talking about, or even just a layperson trying to understand what it is that we're talking about. Like there's very little nuance even in the listening of what we're talking about, because what will happen is a simplification of even just this conversation to be like, well, here we go again. It's like they're finding some more things to complain about, or it's that victim kind of mentality or mindset and whatnot. And it's like, well, that's not what we're talking about. And like, if you hang around us, then you know that we are far from victims in terms of how we see ourselves and how we think. We're actually very empowered individuals.
Yeah.
And so empowered collectives. And so actually what we're doing when we're talking about this is trying to introduce you to the nuance. And at the same time, comment on the lack of nuance, because like that's the issue, isn't it? It's like it's our industry, and not just in music, but even more broadly in entertainment. And then you spread it out even further to the point where you're talking about just even mainstream politics or whatever. Like there is no space for this detailed or complex conversation, or there is no space for, as Dobby was talking about, the diversity that exists within, First Nations artistry or artistry within multicultural communities. It's we put one or two, like Dobby was saying, we pick a small handful, and then even within hip hop, let's just pick a small handful of who's popping right now. And it's like, well, but that isn't representative of like what actually is out there. But also by not providing that space, you kind of feeding that the excuse that they use to not put us on in the first place, which is, these guys don't sell tickets, or this type of music doesn't sell tickets, or whatever.
Right.
It's like, well, motherfucker, we ain't never had a shot. You know what I mean? It's like, who the fuck is backing us? You know what I mean? Like, we don't get promoted out here. Like we don't, and this is something that's super interesting to me when I think about it. You just linking back to your question about like international versus here. It's like something that exists internationally is this whole role of what a promoter is. We don't have that existing here. We have you may have a booking agent if you're fortunate enough to have one, but even if you don't have one, you're doing everything from top to bottom. But no one teaches you how to be communicator to be able to promote your stuff. And then when you do it, you kind of have to walk a fine line. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But my point being that when there's a lack of opportunity, then you create this ecosystem where we're fighting for very limited spots, which, you know, creates a very kind of toxic environment. But then at the
Yeah.
same time, on top of that, the lack of opportunity means more lack of opportunity because we aren't able to achieve the milestones or the KPIs that they are looking for to put us on anyway. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, we don't get the luxury of even having a shot. So
Mm,
it's a real, yeah, it's a complex conversation, but
Yes.
just to link it back to where I started, it often lacks in nuance in how it's spoken about and how it's perceived,
Hmm.
but also
yeah.
then it is far from us playing a victim card. It's a hang on, let's open your eyes up to where we're coming from, because we don't see ourselves as victims. We see
Yeah.
ourselves as claiming, as having power and letting you know
Yes.
that we have that power.
Truth. That's so true. And actually, can I just quickly add to what you're saying, because that really resonated with me, Elle, is that, like, if I had to uh give the benefit of the doubt that, people don't realize how different things could be, that people often, would think that this is the way that the music industry can
Yeah.
operate and serve artists and serve their fans, or the listeners and whatnot. And this is the way, that same status quo stuff that you hear. And you've just got to get better at Spotify. You've just got to get better at promoting. You've just got to fight for that one spot or that second spot, for the artist. But if I didn't give the benefit of the doubt and I were a bit more cynical or more realistic, however you want to sort of frame it, it's that they do know exactly what they're doing, and it is a form of spatial control in terms of how gradual we can make our progression. And so, that comes back to what you're saying, El, is like, we are empowered individuals and collectives. Like, we are very powerful storytellers, and it doesn't it pisses people off, and it makes people afraid, because there really is power behind that and influence behind that, real influence that leads to, financial change, economic change, calls to action, political action. So I do find I tend to sway back and forth between those two mindsets, whether or not it's like they just need to be educated and we just got to keep reminding mob them about, like, what it could be, or it's like we just need to kick the door open,
Yeah.
you know.
Just listening to the two of you, not only deliver so articulately and the real facts about what it is you guys have to deal with in terms of finding that constant performance space. I'm not a performer. I'm not a promoter. I'm somebody who these conversations I want to have happen a lot more to educate myself on what it is that my incredibly talented friends, who I think have the doors being knocked down and people begging you to come on stages. And I see what I see on social media with you performing here and doing all these incredible things, that I have to remind myself that you're fueling it and funding it yourself most of the time.
Yeah.
And if it's not that, then it's also, and a lot of the time, and please correct me if I'm wrong, grants and, having management that sees your vision, but then again, the management having to deal with the greater industry and then having to deal with all of these uncomfortable conversations that really shouldn't be uncomfortable, and it shouldn't be having to peel back the layers of an onion, but it is. So hearing the two of you say this to me tonight, it's kind of shook me a little bit, because again, I just look at the two of you and I've got you both on this incredible sort of independent pedestal because I've seen how hard you've worked. And knowing that passion and knowing the quality of your work and seeing it all, that's not enough. The cheerleading's not enough, right? It's such a bigger deep dive, like Ella said, that yeah, a lot of the time people do like to just put that little, oh, it is a struggle. Oh, here they're complaining again. Or, oh no,
Yeah.
it's not right for the Australian audience. It's too woke. It's these kind of buzzwords. And it's just infuriating because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
infuriating. It's
For
I mean,
real.
I remembered, if I can just say this, so we'll get back on topic, but when yourself and Barker appeared at the New Year's Eve last year. Oh my God, it was like a party in the house here. Like the kids and I, we were dancing. The kids are like, "There's Dobby. Oh my God, this is great." And I don't know who it was that was commentating, and then they came back off when you guys were done. And I can't remember who it was, but it was the next day in the comments on the thing. And somebody kept saying, "Oh, that was a bit too woke for New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, and do we really have to be political for a party?" And I'm going, well, it's either that or it's seeing a bunch of people just getting pissed drunk and acting like morons on the steps of the opera house against the same kind of soundtrack that you'd hear in a pub. Great, there's time and space for it all, but this is the future. This is embracing. This is the change. But reading that, like Dobby, I got to responding back. I can't help myself. I went in. But it's like, you go in and you're fighting online, but it's like it falls on deaf ears. So how does that stop? That doesn't. It's how do you combat that kind of stuff? And it's your own sort of, after your own performance with commentators not even really understanding. That's the stuff that infuriates me. So a track like this, how is this perceived then by radio and the like? What's the feedback been like
for this track? It's been I mean, this is what I take a lot of pride in the fact that this song has brought up this conversation, because we now get to have, I mean, it would have happened either way, but like now we are here being able to talk about our artistic approach to these stories, and I feel like there's so much that I want to personally talk about in my music, and this is definitely a song that I was happy to speak with another radio station about this about these issues that I don't know if they would ever be speaking like you said, El, like with this much nuance. So if a song can do that and it can reach people in that way, then that's what it's about. I always think about that Jay-Z quote about, like, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing here, but he talks about, having a message that's packaged so well that you can't resist it. And I think about, like, this track was like my attempt at, like, being able to sort of deal to approach this particular type of message and content, but have it be really, speaking to that modern sound.
Right.
And I want to keep making stuff like that, where maybe it's an Easter egg for someone and then they actually stop and listen to the lyrics, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are probably listening to it on some Spotify playlist that have no idea what we're even talking about.
Right.
And well, maybe there's a lot of them, I don't know, but like, I'm sure that's what most music listeners might actually be like, for this particular song. But I'm happy they're listening to it, because one day they'll get that message. I don't know. What do you think, El?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with music, right? Like, everyone listens to it in different ways,
Yeah.
And for some people, they gravitate towards the lyrics. I know I gravitate towards the lyrics. Other people go towards the production. I mean, I haven't. My whole mindset's changed in recent times. I don't really check in for feedback that much anymore. Whether that's on social media or whatever. Well, particularly on social media, but I don't know. I just feel like there's so much life to live that like I just don't have time, space, or energy to spend on this never ending waterfall of noise. So yeah, I just just let it be, put it out there, and then let it be, and people are going to react and respond however they're going to react and respond. I think what reigns true, I think, for music that we create, and I think that's why we love doing, is we try to create things that's really going to have an impact, and that's really going to be felt on multiple levels, and this song is consistent with that goal. So I no doubt it's having an impact on, and people who need to hear it are hearing it, and for those who are the message is flying over their head, hopefully at some point that there'll be like that moment of, oh, that's what they were talking about,
Yeah.
get it. But
A couple of years later, maybe a day late and a dollar short type of vibe.
yeah. But at the end of the day as well, I hope people enjoy it. Like the song was, even though it talks about heavy stuff, and like as Dobby said at the top, like there's still fun to it, and it still feels good, and the music video was really fun to make, and
You look like you're having fun.
yeah. So we love what we do, That's why I say we can't be victors. We just love what we do. Like,
Yeah.
That's right,
so,
bro.
yeah, I hope people enjoy the song too as well.
Oh, 1,000%. Did you guys like write together, or was it like a separate thing and then came together, or were there like moments where you both were able to sort of sit and work on lyrics and all of that sort of stuff, or how did the song
I remember.
construction
Mm.
I
come
remember.
about?
I know Dobby played a demo for me, and most of the song was there, and we were in the studio. I can't remember, Dobby, if I wrote part of it there when you were there, and then went away and recorded it. I
You
can't remember.
did that. Nah, that's right. You did, because you were like, you listened to you heard that track, and you were already starting to pen down a verse,
Hmm.
and we played it like we were like, all right, loop that, and I kind of let you do your
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Got you. That was at 301. Hey,
At
that was at
301,
301.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember. I
yeah,
remember the studio. I remember the space, and I remember the conversation we had, but I can't remember the details. But
yeah.
I know I recorded it. No, we did. We recorded it then and there, and then I
Wow.
remember we had it done, and then you sent it to me, and then I recut the vocal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right. But I like just
Yeah.
like real quickly as well, when you were like loop that, and then you were just kind of like going over trying to, write down a verse. I was quietly just melting down in the background, like, what the hell is happening? Elle's like coming up with a verse on my track. Yeah.
How long did the whole process take? Like, was it a couple of weeks? Has this been in the making for a few months? How did it happen? Because you're both incredibly busy in your own right. So to be able to
Oh.
find the time to make this happen.
Well, the song actually came together really quickly, but then freaking COVID happened, and we didn't have this song
Okay.
like, we put this on by the wayside. But you know what, it made it that much sweeter as well, because I ended up adding so much more to it.
Mm.
Like it sounds like what it is now because of the the isolation period. Like, I just went
Yeah.
back to the drawing board, and I said to Elle, like, did you want to change anything, or did you want to happy for the verse to stay the same? I kept my verse the same, and but the beat changed, and we re-recorded our verses, our vocals. But so yeah, I guess you could say, like, over the span of like 3 years.
Wow.
But really the song itself came together in like, what, a month?
Yeah, it was super quick, and that was the thing, Maxine. Like now thinking back on it, I mean that's why, when Dobby played it, it was like I had to be written and recorded then and there because
Yeah.
we yeah. I know how we know how the things go, like there's always a great intention to want to work together, but like
Yeah.
we said at the top, sometimes time just doesn't allow for it to happen. So if you do have an opportunity, like it was just a feel thing. It just felt right in that moment to be like, yeah, let's smash it out now.
It was
Yeah.
universal too. It had to come
Yeah,
out now. This was
exactly.
the time it meant to come out.
Yeah.
And I think it's been delivered at the right time. And
Yeah.
like you said, Elle, before, and I have to agree with you, even though it's a little bit of a gift and a curse for me with not looking at things on social media, because that's part of my job
Okay.
is the research. You go down that rabbit hole. But I agree with you in saying when you release, and wherever it lands, right? Because as an artist, for both of you, you've got necessary work, important work to do. Your creativity doesn't need to be bogged down with the noise. And there's a
Mm.
lot of shit at the moment. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
The two of you are sort of intrinsically connected to all of that, those sort of the feelings. But there's a feeling in the air right now. There's a weirdness and a weight and a heaviness in the world. And does that affect your creativity in like in terms of when you're working on things, even if you're writing or even in the studio? Do you have to shut off from that shit, that noise, in order to, that's what I'm trying to ask basically.
Well, did you want to go, Elle, or?
I'm happy for you to kick it off.
Yeah, I like hearing that question makes me think of the way that I Can't Breathe came together was very much out of a vent. Like I needed to, like I just became what's the word, like in like all consumed with
Yeah,
the frustration of that moment, you know, when this reporter is saying some bullshit in LA.
yeah,
um and I try and avoid it, and you try and avoid it, especially in that time. But you know, like always, you know, you stay out of the comment section, you avoid these areas, and it's good for your mental health. But what's crazy, and this is the thing, this is why I really truly respect artists, especially, you know, artists that, you know, carry this sort of, you know, marginalized, you know, the messages of marginalized peoples. We often find ourselves writing from that as not inspiration could be the word, but it's more like that's how we find our calling or
yeah.
message,
The
you know,
purpose.
that fuels the fire for that song.
Yeah,
And that is an unhealthy, toxic place to write from.
yeah,
But it just, sometimes I find myself in that space, and I don't want myself as an artist to keep writing from that space. It's like what you said, oh, like I don't, I'm that's not all of who I am. Like
right.
I'm also an artist that's trying to be dope across all fields. Uh Lately it's been feeling like I've been writing from some pretty toxic, unhealthy spaces. Kind of like because I can't help it because it's always around me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that.
that's dope. What about you, El? Because again, you are in the space where you don't make shit music. Neither one of you do, and it's music that is you're both change agents at the end of the day. So how do you operate when the world kind of feels like it's just a raging mess? You know, this is my take. You might not look at the world like that, but there's a feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's how we make sense of it, right? Personally, what I think about why I come to music, and often it's to, you know, just express how I'm feeling about that particular point in time, and that can be in relation to everything that's going on in the world and the things that have caught my attention, and the things that I feel like I want to respond to, and other times it might be to escape that.
Yeah.
It just depends on the moment, you know. And I think it just when you were kind of asking that question, it kind of just made me recall a time where, like, you know, I had written a song, Get Mine, which was very much, you know, came from a place of frustration, and talking about very similar things to the things that we're talking about in this song. However, that one, I suppose, in particular, was like born out of just kind of uh, a few different experiences, but in particular, experience of just seeing kind of like racism play out right in front of my face when I was sitting on a flight one time coming home from a show on tour. And I remember, you know, performing it at a festival one time, and it was the first time I've ever performed where I almost didn't want to perform because, like, I was frustrated and I was angry, and it was the first time I performed where I was where that was the main emotion.
Mm,
You know, that might pop up here and there, and and that's never the place that I want to come from, is from a place of anger or frustration. But that was in that moment, in that day, that was where I was coming from, because that particular festival had really tokenized, you know, I
Mm.
suppose South Asian culture, and presented me on a stage that was very much a without going into too many specifics, I was literally performing on a stage that looked like it could have been cut out of an Aladdin book, and it was
oh
like
God.
literally like the most fucked up experience. Anyway, I'm performing Get Mine on that stage, and it was the first time where I felt like I wanted to throw up because that's how angry I was, you know, like when the feeling is so visceral. And it just, you know, when you were talking about the question, it made me think of that, because it's like sometimes that's just what we had to do. And I remember coming off stage, like, and having conversations with other artists who are on the festival, peers who would never have to experience what we've had to experience and what I had to experience in that moment. And they were like, how's it going? I was like, to be honest, like really shit, you know. And I was explaining what I just explained to you guys, and at the same time, I was like, sometimes I kind of wish that we didn't have to do, like, I wish we could just make music and not have to deal with this shit. Like, fuck, how good could we be? But then at the same time, that was how I thought at that particular
Yeah.
point in time. But my perspective, and I was exhausted. But my perspective now is like, but we've also chosen to be artists as we are, to represent what we represent, to speak on what we speak on, and to hold on to that responsibility in a firm kind of way, because these are our stories to tell. Because if we don't tell them, then it's going to be told in a fucked up way by somebody who has no claim or ownership of this story. Like, we need to write our version and our perspective of history, because we've seen from you know, like, the world around us what happens when our communities don't get to tell our own stories. So, you know, at the same time, it's a blessing and a curse. The emotions can be really, really intense, and overwhelming, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're in a position to tell those stories, so let's tell it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you
Straight
don't,
on.
you'll get the set director of that very stage that you wanted to throw up on, trying to write your story, and they really, there's just, it's the lack of filter, the lack of, just the lack of cultural respect is something that I'm really noticing now too. And even though I'm sort of more moving within that hip hop education realm, I'm so grateful to work at a school that is steeped in cultural, awareness and
Mm,
multiculturalism, and representing all that is amazing about, what they say that is good about Australia, the accepting of different nations and different cultures. I seem to be, I found myself at the cornerstone of an education,
Yeah.
sort of system that fosters that. And sometimes I feel, when I sort of leave and I drive home, the drive from Marylands to the Southern Shire, we'll keep that quiet, don't judge me. It's nice, lots of trees, guys. I mean, it's trees, water. Okay,
right. Can't
it's
blame you.
it's a pinch me moment, right? Because I'm where I need to be, and I'm working with people that are teaching me. I get taught so much by Indigenous kids, by Middle Eastern kids, by kids who have different religions, and we're all in the same school. And I
Yeah.
go, this is how it should always be, but it's not, because the school down the road won't be that accepting, and they won't have teachers that will come in there wanting to teach, through hip hop, and teach podcasting and beat making and all these kinds of things. And I just think the world we live in, it's it plays tricks on your mind sometimes. You kind of go, is this the real world? Yeah, this is where we live in. But when I see what you guys are doing, I'm always inspired. I'm always inspired, and you teach me so much. I'm a proud South African woman. I've lived in Australia for 30 odd years, um, and I'm still learning about the different cultures and about what POC people have to go through, and the Indigenous community. Don't even get me started, Dobby. That's a gift that keeps giving, and sometimes I feel embarrassed that I don't know enough, but I want to know enough so that I can teach my kids to know more. And
Mm.
you know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Collectively, how we can make it um, a little bit more of a better place in the future. But that was a bit
Yeah.
of a rant, but also a flowers piece to you both. But Elle, if I can just raise this with you, it's not really a question. It's just more of a uh, something that I've acknowledged with a couple of your tracks. The track Mother Tongue, but I just really resonates strongly with me. And again, with the school community that I work within right now, um, that track is very personal to you, no doubt, and the lyrics are, yeah, really really powerful. I'm dealing with a lot of kids who English is their second language, but more often than not, these kids are the the ones who have to go out and learn English in order to help the families. And I'm struck by how proud they are of their mother tongue. And I've actually used you in reference when I've spoken to them about putting podcasts together, and I've said you have to listen to this artist and you have to listen to
That's
what
dope.
he says. And it's man, it's I just wanted to thank you for, I know for a lot of your music, but that track, I see it really relative with the kids that
Mm.
I work with. So this is obviously a very lame question, but how did that feel for you putting that together in this particular, sort of climate
Mm.
that we're in?
Man, I mean, it's mind blowing. I mean, hearing you say that means a lot. And at the same time, like there's some schools I go to do workshops in, and it's a very different environment now. Like uh, one of the schools I go to, all the signs have are written in multiple languages because that school is the vast majority of people that go to that school, English is a second language. And that just blows my mind because that was just unheard of when I was a kid, growing up in the same area. I'm not talking about a place that's 45 minutes from where I grew up. I'm talking about literally 10 minutes down the road. Um, and that's just mind blowing. And same like when I drive into Sydney Olympic Park now, like there's this, I can't remember what road it's on, but there's a, a, a kind of like I suppose a board, or it's kind of like a sculpture slash board, and it has like welcome and greetings in so many different
Yeah.
languages, and Punjabi is one of them. And so like when I see it, or even when I see Punjabi at this school,
Wow.
I just feel so proud, and the little kid in me just like lights up because I didn't see that growing up. I didn't there was not that appreciation even on a surface level of language and different
Mm.
languages. And so it was challenging to write that song because the soul of that song is coming from a place of shame, and in a place of that starts the second verse is conversations with my grandmother, would
Yeah.
comfort me. I
Yeah.
reply in my mother tongue uncomfortably.
Mm,
Like just not being able to communicate with someone who I love so dearly.
Yeah.
mm,
And so that's in coming from a place of the single biggest regret I have in life is letting go of my mother tongue language, because I remember sitting at the my grandmother's bedside when she was in the hospital before she passed away, and not being able to tell her how I felt about her because I couldn't communicate it. And so it's like, not that she needed to. I think there's an unspoken level of
Absolutely.
communication there, but at the same time you feel you want that feeling to be able to communicate in that way. So it was a really 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 challenging song to write, and probably the most challenging song to write because it comes from the most vulnerable of places for me.
mm,
But at the same time, it's the probably, in my mind, the most important song I've written. One of the
mm,
most, if not the most important, because it comes from such a place of vulnerability
Yeah.
and honesty. And at the same time, it's also one of the most emotional to perform every single time. It gets me. It gets me.
mm.
It doesn't matter how many times I've performed it now, it still gets me.
Wow.
Yep,
So
Thank
it
you for sharing that, mate, because you can
beautiful.
it
hear it.
is.
You can
Yeah.
hear the vulnerability, and that's what I love about it. Because I think anybody that is, you know, eh, and again, I don't know, there's no other term for it, but anybody that's an immigrant to this country that's come from, a faraway land and calls Australia home, and it's just even the term mother tongue.
Mm,
I've was raised speaking English all my life, but my mother tongue, is Zulu, and the terrible Dutch Afrikaans, which I refuse to
Mm,
speak because it's not derived from a good place. But the Zulu, the African nations, right?
mm,
I used to be able to understand it. And obviously, because I don't live in South Africa, doesn't mean I shouldn't anymore. But when
mm,
I heard that song, it resonated. It really resonated. So that song is something that I hold very dear, especially when I do a lot of my podcasting classes, and I speak with kids who tend to struggle a little bit trying to get what they want to say across. I'm like, just in time, but don't lose that. I don't want them to lose that essence of where they are just to fit in. It's not necessary anymore. It's just not.
Yeah.
There's like a real, I remember, I mean, there's a real deep moment that I want to get to, but like I remember after I'd written that song, I went and attended an event at Campbelltown Arts Centre. It was an event that celebrated kind of cultural work being done in on Darawal country, and so it was it's a biannual celebration awards ceremony that they do to acknowledge the work being done by First Nations communities in the Campbelltown region on Darawal country to preserve culture. And Uncle Ivan, who's a local elder here, gave a speech at that event. And one thing that he said at the time, because he was being interviewed and he was being asked about, you know, all the work that he's done. He's very much a celebrated elder in the Southwest here. And he was talking about, you know, how fortunate he's been to be able to live the life that he's lived and do what he's done. But he said the one thing that he goes like that will always leave my soul empty is not being able to speak my language. Like that was taken from me and I was never able to get it back. And I just finished writing mother tongue at that time. And I had that conversation with him afterwards and just kind of shared that with him and how much I really appreciated his story and his journey and him speaking about it in that way. It just makes it feel like you're not alone, you know, regardless of who you are, where you come from, whether you're a migrant, whether you're First Nations, like it's very much a universal thing to be able to have something that you hold dear but then lose it. There's a moment in the documentary, I believe it was the documentary about Gormal. I can't remember who says it, but right at the end talking about how, you know, in the Australian context, with all the loss of language from a First Nations perspective, we are essentially losing, you know, something that can never be brought back. You know, when we lose a language, it's gone. Like, and very much if it's predominantly an oral storytelling tradition, it's once it's gone, it's gone. And so the way they corresponded is like they made the comparison with again, just to kind of simplify it for people, even though it's so much more complex than this, but it does hit hard, is like, you know, it was something like, you know, if the tiles or whatever on the Sydney Opera House kept falling off one by one, like you would notice very visibly, like that there's something that people hold so dear that is iconically Sydney is falling apart. We would do something about it immediately. And it's like, we're losing languages at such a ridiculous rate and have been since colonization. It's like we haven't done anything about it. And so that's, you know, there's something that, you know, that this whole conversation resonates with me. And again, it just to link it back to That's Not Me. And I mean, that's kind of why this song is so important as well. And it's like, because we're talking about who we are, where we come from, and how why it is that we do is so important, and where it is that we come from, why it's so important, and how by robbing us of that opportunity, or by stereotyping us, or by putting us in these positions, or you know, it really doesn't allow us at all to celebrate the breadth of humanity, you know, like at the end of the day, we all miss out when we rob others of the opportunity to be themselves fully.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well said, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Dobby, I mean, obviously, I know I've you know, we've been chatting for quite a while, and I know you've both got quite a bit to go and get to. But just to finish off, thanks so much for that, Elle. Just to finish off, Dobby, I mean, I want to congratulate you not only on this incredible single that the two of you have done together. Briefly ask a very obvious question: any more collaborations? Maybe an album in the future when you've got some time? You need me to help manage that time for you, because it's necessary that you work together again. What's the future looking like? Obviously, the the single's out, it's doing what it has to do. But in terms of obviously, 2023 is just around the corner. It's crazy. How is life looking for you creatively? You're going to take a break over the holiday season, I hope.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a break is coming soon. I think like I'm so happy and relieved that we were able to put out this song, before the new year. It's a tune that like I just love how we made it. I love the message behind it, and I love how we came together for the video. um and it's doing, like you said, it's doing what it's doing, and it's doing its thing. I feel like for next year we're hurriedly putting things together for the release of Warangu River Story, which is this project that I premiered earlier for Vivid Sydney, like in June, at the art gallery. And this, again, like linking back to what you were saying, El, like there's so much in that project that links back to, yes, it's mostly about water and the Murray-Darling Basin and the Barwon River, but it's also about language, and language being connected to the land. And there are stories that I'm thinking about now, like, and everything that you've said is kind of like making me a little thing, like emotional about it, because it's there's so much knowledge that we have that it kind of lies with my generation now to sort of bring the pieces together. And that's a daunting feeling, but it's true, and so I really hold so much importance in what this project means to myself and my community, and to Kelsey, who's also on the project, and Brad Stedman and Auntie Josie and Uncle Tommy. And so I'm really excited to put that out for next year, and hopefully that is received by whoever needs to hear it, whether it be the politicians that are in charge of our water direction, or mob who need that cultural fulfill, like what how it can serve them, and people who also need to just be educated with these things as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Just a massive congratulations to you on that. I mean, it was a huge, thing to see you holding center court earlier this year with the incredible work that you did with Sydney Festival, and again, just seeing you in those spaces, man, it's, I don't know, it's just, I just get it all in my feels, and I'm like, you doing that. He's doing it. He's teaching the people, redirecting thoughts, change agent. It's the same with my brother at the bottom. When we go to the Sydney Kings game and I see the lights dim and I see you come out on court, I go, kids, we know him. This is a good moment for us. And then we look at everybody going, yes, these are our people. This is what we do. I know. I put the petty cape on, guys. I can't help it.
I love it.
Beyond proud. But it's, man, like you're in spaces that shit you need to be in, right? And I'm excited for you both, and I just love seeing what you do, and you are changing lives, and you're causing those conversations to happen whether people want or not. Australia doesn't live under a rock. We might be at the bottom of the world, but shit, gloves are off, and this is who we are, and this is who we represent. And I think our artistry is incredible, and can't keep us quiet for too long. Shit, health.
That's right.
Right.
Health. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So I wish you both all the best, and I cannot thank you enough for carving out a little bit of time just to have a chat about this incredible single. It's out now. People get involved, like listen, share, do what you have to, and hear it. Stop and listen and hear it. Right? It's you didn't just make it for shits and giggles. Like you don't make a lot of things for shits and giggles. But congratulations on the single, and just keep doing what you do, man. Like seriously, beyond proud.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. It's like I said, like it's an honor to be able to to have this conversation. Elle and I, this is our first, you know, chance to be able to talk about it at length. So, you know, couldn't be happier to bring that, you know, here with
Talk
you,
about
Miss Hennessy,
pressure.
on Korea Radio.
Jesus Christ, the pressure of it all.
Ah.
First time we've done it together, I go, okay, well, I better get my shit together and make sure that it's promoted right. Elle, same to you. I know you've got so many incredible things coming up. Just a quick touch on what 2023 is looking like for you. You're very mysterious too, by the way. Can I just tell you? I see you doing great things, and then I go, okay, he done did that ages ago. I must be late to the party. But I see all these things. I go, why did I just find out? Like, what's up with that? I thought we were cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm up. The mindset's changed a lot in recent times. I think 2022 is very much just a year of evolution and just a reshifting of perspectives and priorities. I think like yeah, I'm just in the mindset of doing and letting other people talk about it. So you know,
Love that.
I'm just focused on that. I think 2023 will very much be the same. New music definitely on the way, and then we'll just kind of see what goals I can kind of kick for next year. But yeah, there's a lot in the works, um, a lot I want to do, and yeah, we'll just kind of see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. And that's all you can do, though. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're in the positions that you're in to create and to share your messages. And like you said, who else to tell your story but you? And that's all that we can ask for. But I'm very grateful for you both and for your artistry and your message and just your time. But most of all, your friendship. And I appreciate you both. Wishing you an incredible holiday period, festive period. If you observe, if you're just going to hang out and just chill, whatever you do, stay safe. And I can't wait to reconnect with you guys again in the new year. And yeah, people get out there, just listen to this track, man. It's real shit. That's all I can say. Because I don't know people that don't do real shit. So that's just thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
guys. Love you guys, man.
Thank you
Bob.
so much. So much love to you, and happy holidays and happy new year.
Absolutely. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Peace.